At least 65 people were killed in one of the deadliest attacks on civilians in recent years. The country's president vows to hunt down those responsible. Boko Haram has been waging an uprising in Nigeria and surrounding West African countries for more than a decade. It's a conflict which has killed tens of thousands and displaced more than 2 million people. Joining me now, Gadi Adelman, a counter-terrorism expert and advisor. Gadi, another horrific attack by Boko Haram, killing people at a funeral procession. What is the agenda of Boko Haram? What does this Islamic terrorist group hope to achieve?
Well, Boko Haram, like any jihadist group, wants to see a worldwide caliphate. But we need to remember that when Boko Haram was founded back in 2002, when they originally started, they were actually a nonviolent movement. Since 2009, when they started using violent jihad, as you just mentioned, they've killed upwards of 27,000 people and displaced like 2.3 million.
But what is their grievance? What is their, if you will, their grievance, Gadi? I mean, what is their end game?
Well, their end game is a worldwide caliphate. And I know I keep saying that over and over again, but we have to remember in 2015, March of 2015, if I remember correctly, the group aligned itself with ISIS. So you have that same Wahhabism and jihadism that ISIS has, only it's in Africa as opposed to, Syria, where we saw ISIS, and Iraq and Iran. So it's still that same group. They're aligned with ISIS. The actual group that carried this attack out, because Boko Haram split into two different factions in 2016, is the Islamic State in West Africa. That's the name they chose when they aligned themselves with ISIS.
And of course, Gadi, the name Boko Haram is interpreted to mean that they're against Western education. We remember that infamous situation where they kidnapped a bunch of Nigerian schoolgirls. So what is being done against this jihadist group? Because as we've mentioned, it's been waging an insurgency for the past 10 years. It's killed thousands of people. Millions have been fleeing. What are authorities doing to try and tackle this?
Well, unfortunately, and you mentioned the 300 girls that have been kidnapped. And if you remember, the big thing on social media was the tweet or the hashtag, bring back our girls. We are not going to defeat any terrorist organization with hashtags. And, the Nigerian president's office actually released a statement on Sunday saying that the country's Air Force and Army had begun air patrols and ground operations to hunt down the attackers. But the problem is Nigeria doesn't have the personnel or equipment to react to these types of attacks, and certainly not to react quickly.
Right.
So we may end up having to see what eventually may be done, if Nigeria allows it, is an international coalition to go in and actually just stop this once and for all.
Gadi, thank you so much. Gadi Adelman.